Was it you in Annapolis?
No, that's what they do. The chair always calls around.
Oh, yeah.
It's a bad look.
Yeah, right.
I was there last night.
Well, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for being with us this afternoon. This is a public hearing on fiscal year 2021 capital budget and fiscal year 2021 through 2026 capital improvements plan for county government. Montgomery County Public Schools, Montgomery College, the Maryland National Capital Park and Planning Commission, the Washington Suburban Sanitary Commission, the Washington Suburban Transit Commission, the Revenue Authority, the Housing Opportunities Commission, and municipality and state projects. Projects in the 6-year program include facilities for parks, recreation, roads, schools, the community college, libraries, fire stations, mass transit, housing, police corrections and rehabilitation, general government, and other public purposes. Capital projects are primarily funded with money from future issuance of bonds. Additions, deletions, or modifications to the CIP and capital budget may be made subsequent to the public hearings. Council action on the WSSC CIP is also an update to the Comprehensive Water Supply and Sewerage System Plan. For everyone scheduled to testify, please bring your copies of your written testimony to the clerk at this time, to my left and your right. Before beginning your presentation, please state your name and clearly for the record. Before you begin your presentation, please touch the red button at the base of the microphone, and when you have finished speaking, please cut your microphone off. When you begin your presentation, there again, please state your name clearly for the record. You have 3 minutes to speak. A yellow light in front of you will come on when you have 30 seconds left in which to finish your presentation. Please end your statement when the red light comes on. If you have not finished your statement, the council will read your submitted written testimony and will consider it just as your oral testimony. For the first panel, we have Jeffrey Slavin representing the town of Somerset, Connor Crimmins from the town of Kensington, Tricia Swanson from Montgomery County Chamber of Commerce, Ken Early from Montgomery County Road Runners Club, Suri Bahandagar, the Sierra Club of Montgomery County, and Jane Lyons for the Coalition for Smarter Growth. And of Mayor Slavin's, there he is. I saw him earlier.
Good afternoon,
Please.
everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Jeffrey Slavin, and I am testifying as the mayor of the town of Somerset. I am testifying on the Parks CIP budget relating to the urban parks element. 25 years ago, in 1995, using park funds, the county purchased over an acre of land fronting on Willard Avenue. The land was undeveloped except for a single-family home. The land adjoins the existing Willard Avenue Park located to the rear. The newly purchased land was to be converted to park use and added to the existing Willard Avenue Park. The existing Willard Avenue Park adjoins the town of Somerset and is next to the village of Friendship Heights. The 1995 purchase of land for park purposes was in recognition of the density of development in Friendship Heights and the need for additional park land to service the thousands and thousands living in Friendship Heights, as well as residents in the nearby communities and towns, including ours, Somerset. Since purchase 25 years ago, the land has not been converted to park use. In fact, the land has a cyclone fence around it, which precludes the public entry. For several years, Somerset, together with the Village of Friendship Heights, the Citizens Coordinating Committee on Friendship Heights, and the Brookdale Citizens Association, have unsuccessfully urged park officials to fund the project. Parks has advised that the Park CIP budget contains funding for the urban parks element, which funds could be used for converting the acre into park use. However, we have been told that there are many projects and only a few will be chosen by parks due to limited funds. It was made clear that many more years could go by without funding. Somerset and the other nearby communities have been more than patient. For 25 years, land purchased with park funds for park use has lied fallow. We ask respectfully the council to take the necessary steps to ensure that this project will be funded from the urban parks element or some other part of the budget. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Next is Connor Crimmins.
Council President Katz, members of the County Council, my name is Connor Crimmins, and I am testifying on behalf of the Town of Kensington. Thank you for this opportunity to testify regarding the County Executive's recommended budget and to be able to share my support and that of the towns for the full funding of Montgomery County Parks Capital Improvement Program budget request. I respect the competing priorities and challenges the County Council faces while working to reconcile the 6-year CIP budget and to address the numerous priorities within Montgomery County. With a 6-year CIP budget of over $4 billion, this is no simple task. Our park system is more than just greenscapes and playgrounds. Montgomery County parks are an essential service to all county residents and visitors. Much like water, sewer, or public safety, our parks contribute directly to the quality of life for everyone living, working, or visiting Montgomery County. Our park system provides health and environmental benefits, contributes to the county's economic value, works to preserve and rehabilitate numerous county historical structures, and is an essential part of the connective fabric of community engagement and pride in neighborhoods and towns across our county. From children and teens to adults and seniors, county parks provide areas for recreation, exercise, and retreat that is free for use to all residents. Numerous studies have shown that park use for exercise and recreation contributes to the reduction of stress, lowering of blood pressure, and increased physical and mental wellness. Parklands are also proven to improve water and air quality, prevent flooding, provide vegetary buffers to development, produce habitat for wildlife, and provide a place for families to connect with nature and recreate outdoors together. A robust county park system drives economic value in the county as proximity to parklands is shown to increase the value of private property, thus increasing property tax revenues and improving local economies. Additionally, several studies have shown that quality parks and recreation programs to be one of the top 3 reasons that businesses cite when making relocation decisions. Finally, in Kensington, like many other communities in Montgomery County, the Montgomery County Park CIP has been the guardian of critical historic structures through the use of Project Open Space funds to help acquire, protect, stabilize, and rehabilitate historic structures to ensure their preservation and adaptive reuse for years to come. The National Recreation and Park Association captured the importance of a strong community park system best when it stated, and I quote, "There are no communities that pride themselves on the quality of life, promote themselves as desirable locations for businesses to relocate, or maintain that they are environmental stewards of their natural resources without such communities having a robust, active system of parks and recreation programs for public use and enjoyment." I ask that you restore the full $21.7 million reduction to Montgomery County Parks CIP budget. By fully funding our park system, you are investing in our county's economic prosperity, preserving and enhancing our park system that helps to recruit and retain companies and employers, protecting numerous historic structures, and investing in places, spaces, and programming that provide for the betterment of our county's residents and visitors' physical and mental health and well-being. I urge you to read my full written testimony in order to fully appreciate the impact and value of Montgomery County Parks brings to the town of Kensington every day. And I thank you very much for your consideration and time today.
And we thank you. Tricia Swanson, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Tricia Swanson, and I'm Vice President of Government Relations for the Montgomery County Chamber of Commerce. Every year, our chamber comes and testifies in support of the CIP, as it's really a highlight that local dollars going back into the local economy through infrastructure and construction projects. And while we support a lot of the county executive CIP, we do have a few concerns in the buckets of education, transportation, and housing. As it relates to education, and as all of our council members know, the state is putting the highest priority on school construction. We're looking at potentially and hopefully historic investments in school construction. Our county is also facing development moratorium because of school overcrowding. So the chamber found it disappointing that the county executive did not fully fund MCPS's requested CIP. As it relates to transportation, we were disappointed to see the cutting of funding for the north entrance to the White-Flint Metro Station. One of the biggest tenets of the 2010 White-Flint sector plan was transit-oriented development and walkability. And without this north entrance, there's almost a halt put on economic development and business development in the North Bethesda Pike District. Additionally, on a similar point of transportation, the lack of funding for the shovel-ready project, the Capitol Crescent Trail under Wisconsin Avenue, was a big issue of concern for our chamber. Overall, I think that when a commitment is made to various stakeholders and communities, those plans need to be followed through. Finally, housing. We've at the chamber really appreciated the emphasis put on affordable housing, both at the council and among our members. And for the millions watching at home, and what I learned is affordable housing, they're looking at about 75% of affordable housing has to be for low and middle income individuals and households. And they're defining middle income as anywhere up to $2,500 a month. And so while we can, debate whether or not historical funding was put into housing in the county executive's budget, and we know that some of it needs to be resolved through zoning and regulation, and the chamber looks forward to having those conversations with all of you and really finding out ways that we can improve. There also needs to be historic investments in those projects. And so with that, we recognize and appreciate how much of an emphasis the council has put on economic development, and we look forward to partnering with all of you moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Ken Early.
Good afternoon. My name is Ken Early, and I'm the president of the Montgomery County Roadrunners Club, MCRRC. As of January 31st, our club has exactly 3,000 members, making us the 6th largest running club in the United States. We have 13 training programs and over 30 races every year in Montgomery County, and partner with the cities of Rockville and Gaithersburg, as well as several local civic associations on several of these races. I'm here today to speak on behalf of these runners and walkers and their concerns about the current proposed CIP. All of our training programs, which run throughout the year, and many of our races use facilities that will be affected by the proposed budget. Very specifically, improvements and expansion of trails will be unfunded, mandates including the Americans with Disabilities Act and the Clean Water Act will suffer, and the Vision Zero project is at risk. These cuts will jeopardize our ability to provide safe and accessible parks to all. The injuries and deaths in Montgomery County underline all the more, deaths to pedestrians in Montgomery County underline all the more the urgent need for safe places for our 3,000 members to run and walk. Our trail system provides immense opportunities for low-cost recreation and fitness. Georgetown Branch and the Capitol Crescent Trail are heavily used by walkers, runners, bikers, and others traveling from all over the country to use them. With the construction of the Purple Line, the trail system has also become an area of extreme concern. During the debate on construction of the line, promises were made that a tunnel under Wisconsin Avenue in Bethesda would provide a safe connection point for users to access both trails. The CIP does not include funding for the tunnel. This disregards the promises that were made. It is inconsistent with the Vision Zero initiative, and it limits the usability of a prime recreational asset that thousands of county residents utilize daily. We urge all our government leaders to find a way to restore funding for the tunnel. While MCRRC members realize that funds are limited, we believe that our recreational opportunities need to be funded for the health and wellness of Montgomery County citizens. People of all ages and income levels need access to outdoor spaces for safe recreational opportunities to foster health, wellness, and community. The current proposal undermines that. Montgomery County has deservedly been listed among the healthiest communities in the United States, as recently as the U.S. News & World Report Aetna Foundation study of 2019. However, expedient decisions such as the lack of funding for the tunnel will ultimately damage the county's reputation as a fitness-friendly, healthy community. MCRRC members are passionate about our sport, and we value the places that provide us the opportunity to engage in it. The CIP should reflect the values of our 3,000 members. Thank you.
Thank you. Shariti Bhatnagar. I never get it right, but anyway, you know who I'm talking to. Thanks.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon, Council President Katz and Montgomery County Council members. My name is Shruti Bhatnagar, and I am presenting this testimony on behalf of Sierra Club as the chair of Sierra Club Montgomery County. Transportation is the largest contributor to climate-damaging greenhouse gas emissions in the state, and vehicle tailpipe emissions also are a major source of nitrous oxide and other toxins which are very damaging to human health. Thus, Sierra Club looks at opportunities to promote more transit, bicycling, and walking. Another major reason we advocate for safe biking and walking is because they are good for our health and lessen the number of people on the road. We are concerned that there is no funding in 2021 nor in outlying years for the Capitol Crescent Trail tunnel connecting trail users from the east side of Wisconsin Avenue to the Bethesda Metro Purple Line stations on the west. The Purple Line opens in 2023 with a newly paved 12-foot wide hiker-biker trail connecting Silver Spring and Bethesda. But without the tunnel under the Wisconsin Avenue, trail users must cross that busy roadway at grade. Please allocate money in the CIP for this Long Plesh Tunnel project that improves connectivity and safety. Meanwhile, we are pleased to see funds included for pedestrian safety critical to Vision Zero goals. Infrastructure improvements are needed to reduce deaths and serious injuries to zero by 2030 on all roadways. As bike commuting continues to grow, the county is moving to expand its bike pedestrian infrastructure, planning for complete streets and safe routes to school. Building the CCT tunnel along with the Purple Line is highly supportive of these goals and will connect trail users to schools, community centers, local retail, and jobs, thus helping residents to be less car dependent. Forcing trail users onto a surface crossing of Wisconsin Avenue is a recipe for more vehicle and people collisions. Finally, the county's first BRT on Route 29 will open May 2020 with dedicated lanes in the northern half of this 14-mile-long corridor. This is a huge move forward in green transportation, but we will need dedicated or managed lanes in the southern half. This BRT project will enhance equity and transit mobility by connecting riders to high-density housing and employment centers, including the new White Oak Science Gateway. We would expect the CIP to include some future funding to complete the dedicated lanes in the southern part of this BRT corridor. Thank you for your consideration of the concerns and recommendations shared in this testimony, and we look forward to having further conversations with you.
Thank you. Jane Lyons.
Jane Lyons, Coalition for Smarter Growth. Thank you, President Katz and council members. The Coalition for Smarter Growth is pleased with the support the CIP gives to bicycle and pedestrian safety, the Bethesda Station South entrance, and bus stop improvements. These projects are a necessity if we want to end unnecessary tragedies. Given that, I'll begin with what we believe is missing, including funding for the White Flint Station northern entrance, Capitol Crescent Trail Tunnel, and a multi-use path along Dale Drive. These projects will support economic development and increase Metro and Purple Line ridership. Two, also specifically address safety along 355, where 2 people have already been killed this year. Regarding BRT, we're happy that this CIP includes funding for preliminary engineering for the next 5 BRT lines. However, given our economic development and climate crises, these projects cannot wait and should be advanced to start even sooner. Likewise, it's disappointing that there's no money included for construction. No BRT project at this point has a construction timeline. This is especially disappointing when every road project includes costs for both preliminary engineering and construction. Specifically, I hope you'll accelerate the timeline for 355. 4 years is much longer than needed, and accelerate the planning for New Hampshire Ave and the North Bethesda Transitway. At this rate, service won't begin on these lines until at least 2026. Our economy and climate cannot wait that long. Transit-dependent residents in Gaithersburg and Germantown cannot wait that long, especially in light of the CCT cancellation. McDOT has proposed that the 355 BRT be broken into 3 routes since the full 22 miles is too long for high-frequency service. This effectively breaks up construction and service into 3 phases. We recommend that the council select a design alternative, and when preliminary engineering for the first phase is complete, construction could begin on that phase while the second phase undergoes preliminary engineering, and so on. Finally, we firmly believe that Route 29 BRT will not set a good example without dedicated lanes south of Tech Road. McDOT's median lane study was supposed to be released last fall. This report should be shared with the council immediately so that any construction funding can be included in this CIP. Given the slow progress on BRT, and given that it won't be operational at least for 5 to 10 years fully, we recommend that McDOT take the success of Ride on Extra and expand express bus service to other future BRT corridors. Finally, we'd like to express our support for the new Affordable Housing Opportunity Fund and for school capital projects and for parks. Although that we should note that the incentive created by the moratorium to fund capacity projects leaves out the vital capital needs of schools that are falling apart but not over capacity. We look forward through the SSP update to revisiting the moratorium and hopefully replacing it with a policy that better serves schools and housing. We also urge the electrical vehicle prioritization and replacement. The proposed CIP still details that a majority of vehicles will be diesel. Given the challenges of the shrinking capital budget, we think it's time to consider some new funding sources. We can't meet our challenges without significant investments.
We'll read the rest of your testimony.
Thank you.
Thank you, and there's no questions of the panel. Thank you very much for being with us. Next is Paul Daisy, who's an individual, Kit Gage, speaking for Friends of Sligo Creek, Jason Orson, Montgomery County Little League, Jennifer Trujillo, an individual, Gene Kavanaugh, Seven Oaks Evanswood Citizens Association, and Robert Nelson, an individual. Paul, are you Paul Daisy? Mr. Daisy, if you could begin, please. Oh, wait, we're going to need to start the timer. Hold on 1 second. Are you ready? Mr. Daisy, please.
Thank you. My name is Paul Daisy. I'm a lifetime Montgomery County resident in Colesville for the last 30 years, and also a lifetime bicyclist. My bicycling CV is in my written testimony. I'm here today to protest cuts for the Capitol Crescent Trail Tunnel and the park's capital budgets. These proposed cuts, in my opinion, show that the county's public relations messages about addressing bike and pedestrian safety in Vision Zero and addressing climate change are whitewash on inadequate levels of effort to achieve the stated goals. I need to start by insisting, based on my experience, that park trails serve transportation as well as recreational needs for county residents. In the 2000s, I moonlighted at a tech startup in Bethesda while working full-time at the Census Bureau. I bicycle commuted there in part via the unpaved portion of the Capitol Crescent Trail from Jones Mill Road to Bethesda. In the last few years, I bicycle commuted to the Maryland National Capital Park and Planning Commission offices in Silver Spring for the Bike Master Plan Citizen Advisory Committee meetings from my home in Colesville. Most of that commute was on roads, but two sections of the Sligo Creek Bike Trail were key links, one between the Camp Mill Shopping Center parking lot and University Boulevard, and one between Forest Glen Road and Crosby Road. Without parks trails, those commutes would have been miles longer. Biking and hiking, including Montgomery County Parks trails, are now this retiree's recreation. I understand the county has CIP budget challenges, but safe bike and pedestrian facilities, including park trails, are among the highest benefit cost infrastructure investments that Montgomery County can make. They realize Vision Zero by reducing pedestrian and bicyclist injuries and fatalities. They reduce climate change by increasing walking and biking to destinations and to public transit facilities and reducing driving. This makes them an essential part of effective transportation demand management. They improve citizen health from more exercise, walking, and biking. They improve neighborhood livability, which increases property values and attracts new residents and visitors. They attract residential and commercial growth to urban cores. Parks trails are among the most popular amenities in the park system and most in need of expansion and maintenance. So I call on you to restore the $18 million reduction in the park CIP budget and to restore reductions to the bicycle pedestrian priority area, BIPA, projects in the CIP budget, including construction funding for the Capitol Crescent Trail Tunnel in Bethesda. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Kit Gage.
My name is Kit Gage. I'm Advocacy Director of Friends of Sligo Creek. Hello, friends. Friends of Sligo Creek is a nonprofit community organization dedicated to protecting, improving, and appreciating the ecological health of Sligo Creek Park and its surrounding watershed, and our many millions of members are all watching today's hearing. See? You got it. You people are slow. The parks of Montgomery County are not simply trees and grass and playing fields. They're a complex interaction of nature and people and cars and vehicles and of other vehicles and pets in the surrounding encroaching suburbs. The interplay is complicated, it's difficult and challenging to maintain them, as you know. To do this requires funds and expertise. Cutting $21 million from the Montgomery Park CIP is precisely the wrong response to combined onslaught of heavy use, environmental threats, and climate change. You may have read some of the studies about the health, not just mental health, but physical health, both physical and mental health effects of being in parks. Parks keep us healthy. We need to keep them healthy as well. The wear and tear on an old parks system like ours requires constant routine maintenance, as well as significant renovation projects. I, for example, just called Parks to report a bunch of holes in the wood pedestrian bridges in Sligo Creek Park, which clearly will need repairs so that the millions of people who are part of Friends of Sligo Creek don't all fall in through those cracks in the bridges. As well, we're concerned about the bigger projects like Brookside Gardens, which is one of the gems of the county, and delaying the improvements to Brookside Gardens. Sligo Creek Park, as you may know, is a long and mostly very narrow park that surrounds a skinny little creek. That means its viability is constantly under threat by encroaching stormwater, invasive plants. These issues challenge the health of trees, shrubs, native plants, animals, birds, and insects' ability to survive. One of the interesting things that helps that park is the acquisition of open space, which can widen the park at critical junctures to help improve its health by adding depth to the park. Sligo's in some way a canary in the mine for Montgomery Parks. It's incredibly well loved. Its people, its millions of people, are a very diverse group within the county, and often those folks aren't able to move or leave to a farther away park. It's very critical that improvements be very park specific, so that we can face the challenges that our park and all the parks, who are often Stream Valley parks, face. Thank you.
Thank you. Jason Orson.
Thank you for your time today. My name is Jason Orson. I'm the president of Montgomery County Little League. I'm here on behalf of Parks to talk about the $21 million cut to the CIP plan. We would like to see that fully funded. We would like to see that with the fully funded CIP plan, we feel that we can invest further in our youth and their activities. The parks and the fields, they really do need those upgrades. Looking for baseball fields and other parks for kids to play in Montgomery County, with our growth and with the growth of many other programs in the county, we feel it's a great time to fully fund the CIP plan and help get those the fields and parks in the best shape that they can be in for our children and in the future. They play a key role in promoting our county's social and racial equity goals that really creates opportunities for everyone. We provide softball, we provide baseball, we provide challenger divisions, we provide scholarships. Our parks are a reason that companies and residents, and I heard other folks say the same thing, but that's a key reason that companies choose to live and move and work and play in this county. I see other counties nearby to us have wonderful baseball complexes where you can hold youth tournaments. I don't see that in the lower part of this county. I think that it would be a wonderful addition to Montgomery County. We value our parks. They play an important role in building strong communities, protecting our environment, and providing venues for physical activity and social gathering. And I feel like they're needed more than ever at this time. About Montgomery County, we are the official Little League of Montgomery County. We cover the entire county, from Germantown and Gaithersburg to Rockville and Silver Spring, and Bethesda and Wheaton, Tacoma Park. We are a nonprofit youth organization. We provide youth baseball and softball for boys and girls ages 4 to 16. We're connected to Little League International. We are, which includes the Little League World Series that many people are familiar with. All of our profits go towards improvements of our fields and our operations. All of our money goes back into that. Everything, including myself, we are all volunteers, including all the coaches. We're spending all of our time because we love baseball and we love the kids. We have an annual growth of 20% for our organization. We're going to hit almost 1,300 kids just this spring. I know we're even represented by some folks that are sitting here today. We offer scholarships to qualified children who want to play baseball. We want to give more opportunities to those that don't have the opportunities to do so. We need the fields in order to do that. We've helped fund baseball and park improvements. We've been working with parks for the last 14, 15 years, when we were formerly Bethesda Little League and Germantown before we formed into Montgomery County Little League. To this day, we're doing a lot of work in South Germantown Park, North Chevy Chase. We want to see those improvements continue. By fully funding the CIP plan, we feel this gives more opportunities to youth to play recreational sports. I really appreciate your time today. Thank you.
Thank you. Jennifer Trujillo.
Good afternoon. I'm Jennifer Trujillo. I'm a resident, parent, aunt, pedestrian, bicycle commuter, user of public transportation, car driver, employee of a business, patron of parks and businesses in Montgomery County, Maryland. I'm asking the council to please not cut funding for parks. Parks play an important role in building communities, protecting natural resources, and providing healthy recreational opportunities. As a trails user, I recognize the value of the parks for physical fitness, access to nature, and making connections between people and parks. Trails have many economic benefits, including increased property values and the attraction of new residents and visitors. Trails are among the most popular amenities in the park system, and most of it in need of expansion and maintenance. Yet the Parks Department spends a small fraction of its budget on the trails. Total funding for both hard and natural surfaces in the trails in the 6-year capital budget amounts to only $8 million a year out of the $244 million capital budget. And that's barely enough to maintain the existing and heavily used trails that we have. I certainly understand the county's budget challenges. However, I still support the essential need for the funding to build new trails and maintain and improve the ones that we have. I hope that the County Council and the Planning Commission of the Parks sees the value in building, this is a personal thing of mine, one or more permanent paved pump tracks in Montgomery County, Maryland, with the first one being in Carroll Knowles Park in Silver Spring. We'll need the park budget in order to do that. The pump track would provide entertainment and fun to all ages and all demographics and all kinds of modalities. The pump track would make Montgomery County extremely unique in that there are very few pump tracks on the eastern seaboard, and even a small one like the one proposed at Carroll Knowles could garner national and international attention in tourism. The pump track would help the county meet its bicycle master plan, help with low-stress bicycling options for people. It's close and accessible by metro and public transportation, and it would be fun for everybody. Please do not cut funding for all versions of multimodal equitable transportation systems and designs. So Department of Transportation, pedestrian, public transit, bicycle infrastructures. The CCT tunnel project weighs heavily on my mind right now. It's a proven fact that more multimodal equitable forms of transportation and parks brings in more consumers and provides more revenue for local businesses. Safe, equitable access helps communities to grow and to thrive. We need them. Additionally, I would urge the County Council to support the Board of Education when their CIP budgets are already stretched by moving forward with the Department of Education's boundary assessments and ask and get recommendations on how to best use our existing school facilities and work towards more equitable school facilities. I really thank you for your time and your attention and your service.
Thank you. Jean Kavanaugh.
Good afternoon. Thank you for taking my testimony. My name is Jean Kavanaugh, and I'm testifying on behalf of Seven Oaks Evanswood Citizens Association. Soweto is a community of about 900 homes bordering downtown Silver Spring to the north. And I'm testifying, like most of the people that you've heard already, in support of fully funding Montgomery Park's budget request. Soweto straddles Sligo Creek Park, and along with the larger Silver Spring community, we use and care for the park daily. We recognize the irreplaceable value of our park system in providing free recreation and natural space for everyone, especially valuable in the densest part of the county, which is where we live. We support Park's vital role in fighting climate change through its forest, stream protection, butterfly and bee, and stormwater maintenance programs. Taking away from the enjoyment and safe use of Sligo Creek Park, however, is the increase in aggressive and speeding drivers, as well as the increase in heavy commercial trucks illegally using Sligo Creek Parkway. This is of particular concern to the scores of students who have to cross the parkway to walk or bike to nearby Sligo Creek Elementary and Silver Spring International Middle Schools. Hundreds of cyclists use the parkway to commute, run errands, for exercise, and even to transport children using bike extensions. We have been working with the Parks Department and the Park Police to implement safer conditions on Sligo Creek Parkway. We know from experience the best way to slow drivers down is using physical barriers like speed tables, stop signs, and bump outs, as well as digital speed signs, education programs, and of course enforcement. All of these measures cost money. Sadly, the Parks Department and Park Police don't have the resources they need to make Sligo Creek Parkway or their other parkways safe for pedestrians and cyclists. If the Parks Department doesn't have the minimum budget to adequately support the parks, they are not going to have the money to increase pedestrian and cyclist safety on the parkway. Also, because of the lack of Park Police resources, they have been unable to enforce the no commercial truck ban on Sligo Creek Parkway. Due to increased traffic and phone apps like Waze, many truck drivers illegally use Sligo Creek Parkway as a shortcut. These trucks, including tractor trailers, dump trucks, equipment carriers, and commercial tour buses, are too wide and heavy to share the road with cyclists. Most of Sligo Creek Parkway has no shoulder. We have asked Park Police to increase enforcement and education efforts, as well as install better signage to make clear the parkways are off limits to commercial trucks. All these efforts cost money. Instead of cutting the parks budget, maybe the council should actually increase parks budget requests to add funds to help advance our
Thank
county's
you very
Vision
much, and
Zero.
we'll read the rest of your testimony.
Thank you.
Robert Nelson.
Good afternoon, President Katz, Vice President Hooker, and County Council members. I'm Robert Nelson, resident of Goshen and former chair of the Up-County Citizens Advisory Board. I commend everyone on the rollout of the Vision Zero program to reduce pedestrian accidents and deaths. Let's also accelerate construction of safety improvements on Goshen Road. During a 1999 to 2001 study, Goshen Road had 102 reported accidents. The rate of collisions was twice the statewide average, and pedestrian-related accidents were 5 times the statewide average. 20 years later, no improvements have been made. Goshen Road still has no sidewalks, no shoulders, and crumbling pavement. I also commend the emphasis on repairing failing bridges. Brink Road Bridge replacement is one of those identified, but it is not scheduled for replacement until 2025. The federal government funds up to 80% of the cost. So couldn't we go ahead right away instead of waiting another 5 years? We've been waiting for decades for a permanent 6th District police station. Quoting from the CIP, the current facility is in rented space and lacks several features of a modern police station, including reinforced interview rooms and a dedicated Sally port. Now that the Watkins Mill Road interchange is being completed this year, how about accelerating this project that currently is scheduled for completion in 2025? I support the Davis Mill Road emergency stabilization, the Clarksburg Fire Station, and the Clarksburg Library. I do not support the Dorsey Mill Road Bridge or Maryland 355 BRT. BRT for the Up-County will not be as beneficial nor as efficient as completing the Mid-County Highway on the master plan route and utilizing conventional bus transportation on the high-speed highway. Quoting from the Mid-County Corridor Study, since the 1960s, Mid-County Highway, also known as M83, a proposed 8.7-mile controlled access 4 to 6 lane major highway from Ridge Road in Clarksburg to Redland Road in Durwood, has been an element of the transportation master plan for Montgomery County. In the 1980s, the State Highway Administration conducted the Route 355 corridor study, and this study concluded that improvements to 355 and a completed Mid-County Highway would both be required in the next 10 to 15 years to provide access for existing and planned development east of I-270 in Germantown. Speed limits on the Mid-County Highway are 50 miles an hour, while 355 slows to 30 miles per hour in certain areas. And it doesn't take a rocket scientist to confirm that completing the 5.6-mile gap in the Mid-County Highway should be the highest priority transportation capital improvement project for the Up-County. Thank you very much.
And thank you. There are no questions, and that concludes this panel. The next panel is Lee Kaiser from South Bradley Hills Neighborhood Association, Jacob Mullis, an individual, Kim Kamansky from Damascus High School Cluster, Marcio Carvello from 1977, Amy Ginsberg, Friends of White Flint, and Annie Tolkien, an individual. Lee Kaiser.
Council President Katz and council members, I'm Lee Kaiser, immediate past president of the South Bradley Hills Neighborhood Association and a 2019 Leadership Montgomery graduate. Since testifying at the CIP table 1 year ago, nary a week has passed without a spotlight on pedestrian safety and Vision Zero. 2020 means our last mile Bethesda community's been waiting 30 years for sidewalks, crosswalks, bike walks, and more. Becoming the next statistic is our constant fear. The BCC Master Plan of 1990 brought these safety enhancements to light, evolving into P501733, stuck in final design stage, thus our plight. 1 step forward, 2 steps back also describes 2020's recommended status quo. This CIP timeframe behind May 2016's threatens to defeat Vision Zero. The county executive claims priority outcomes of easier commutes and safe neighborhoods. Thus, 501733's retrotraction is not understood. South Bradley Hills' 1-mile section of MD 191 sports a lone crosswalk at Bright Drive. It's hawkless, poorly lit, and may need a refuge island to help us survive. Ride on bus number 36, round trips necessitate crossing Bradley. One shoulder's barely 12 inches. Peds and cyclists are never risk-free. Without multimodal basics, neighbors drive their kids across this 2-lane street, foregoing their climate change consciousness of the highest degree. Alas, growing consternation is not confined to what we experience on the ground. On a policy note, 501-733 is described inequitably on its OMB page, I've found. Compared to similar sidewalk CIP projects on tap for District 1, only ours cites an undated master plan and minimal archives. Why this end run? The new bicycle master plan is also referenced in other projects' justification, yet Bradley Boulevard's Tier 1 ranking is but an apparition. These omissions in the Bradley Boulevard project make the council's job harder. Without comprehensively relaying project and advocacy history, rational prioritization could become a non-starter. Is there a glimmer of hope to better inform your transportation CIP decisions? SHA's context-driven guidance and Montgomery Planning's predictive safety tool could wisely drive road reengineering and CIP timeline revisions. For example, that safety analysis tool will offer a proactive lens for corridors that don't exhibit high crash frequency but share similar features to the HIN. These new concepts were not uniformly conveyed to neighbors during my recent petition rounding, when I heard comments that were astute, sad, and astounding. Some said, "We know it will take a death on Bradley Boulevard to prompt action, and should that day come, then our collective tears will devolve from this passion. 30 years plus a day could be a day too late." Thank you.
Thank you. Jacob Mullis.
Dear Council, thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. My name is Jake Mullis, and I resided in Montgomery County for almost 20 years, off and on. I was in the military, and one thing that kept me coming back to Montgomery County, and actually like leaving San Diego to come back to Montgomery County, and I wonder why on some days like today with the weather outside, was the parks. My family has always enjoyed the recreational opportunities that Montgomery County has provided in the parks here in Montgomery County. I'm a parent volunteer coach with the youth mountain bike racing team here in Montgomery County. And when I tell folks that, they're like, "What? There's a youth mountain bike racing team here in Montgomery County?" Yes, there is. We're part of the Maryland Interscholastic Cycling League, which is part of the larger National Interscholastic Cycling League. And we use Montgomery County trails for our kids to ride on. We ride in Little Bennett Park, Cabin John Park, Black Hills Park. Specifically, we use 10 Mile Creek Trail that was built a couple years ago by the Montgomery County Parks, which is a beautiful trail on the west side of Black Hills Park. And I invite everyone to go out there and check out the beautiful scenery of that lake and that trail. And our team has doubled in size. Last year was the first season, this last year was our second season. And then our first season, we had 12 athletes. This year, we had almost 20 athletes. And just because of safety concerns and whatnot, we had to actually tell kids no because we didn't have enough coaches to properly supervise all the kids out there riding with us. And, we're expecting more kids this year to join our team. And the excitement is that these high school and middle school students, when they get together and they ride, they've developed friendships and bonds that are just, it's really exciting to see. And to see these kids stoked on riding a bike out in the woods. I think you all can remember what it's like to ride a bike for your first time when you're in your youth. And also, the adults have developed friendships, and we've actually gotten parents and adults on bikes themselves out in the woods, which is great. They're out there riding with their kids, and we're spending time together and creating community. And without parks and trails, that's not possible. Furthermore, Montgomery County is really an envy of surrounding jurisdictions within the mountain bike community, with the connectivity of Montgomery County parks with local and state parks as well. I can ride out of my house in Germantown, and I can ride 60, 70, 50 miles of natural surface trail just from Germantown, utilizing state and county lands. So please consider fully funding parks and natural surface trail building within Montgomery County. These amenities have a high value and low cost, and thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Kim Kaminsky.
Good afternoon, Council President Katz and County Council members. My name is Kim Kaminsky. I am the MCC PTA Damascus Cluster Coordinator. I am here to speak in support of the $95 million funding for the renovation and building addition at Damascus High School recommended for the fiscal year 2021 and 26 CIP. Damascus High School is the oldest upper-level building in the MCPS system. Damascus High School was last renovated in 1978, which was 42 years ago. Damascus High School modernization was delayed for years and eventually canceled due to funding constraints under the former MCPS school modernization program known as RevX. Thankfully, MCPS has a new approach for school renovation and has come up with a workable solution for the failing Damascus High School building. Mr. Seth Adams, MCPS Head of Facilities, and Dr. Andrew Zuckerman, MCPS Chief Operating Officer, have spent considerable time at Damascus High School this past year developing a future model for our school. MCPS is recommending not only renovation of the Damascus High School building, but also a new addition. Damascus High School will increase its student population by about 400 students to help alleviate overcrowding at Clarksburg High School. We welcome this increase in student population if our high school building is modernized. MCPS is also targeting the renovated Damascus High School for expansion of popular career technology programs in the Upper County area. There are 3 key points concerning the critical need for renovation of Damascus High School. Security. The Damascus High School main administrative office is located in the middle of the building, far from the main entrance. Modern high schools locate their administrative offices at the front entrance of the school for security reasons. Safety. The narrow 1950s era stairwells and hallways in Damascus High School are dangerous choke points restricting evacuation in an emergency. End of lifespan of building systems. Damascus High School received red zone end of lifespan ratings for interior finishes, plumbing, electrical, equipment, and elevators in MCPS 2018 Key Facility Indicator Assessment. Please, we urge you to keep the $95 million renovation and building addition funding for Damascus High School in the CIP. Damascus High School students and staff attend school in a failing facility built in 1950, last renovated 42 years ago. They deserve a 21st century learning environment. A major capital project at Damascus High School will also help reduce overcrowding at Clarksburg. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Mauricio Carlo. You're going to be able to say it much better than I can.
Carvalho.
I
I'm
knew one
here,
of us would know how to do it.
I'm here as an individual, by the way. The 1977 might be an auto
Okay.
fuel from Chrome.
Okay.
I'm here today to express my concern in the recommendation from the county executive to significantly reduce the budget for the Parks Department. Over 6 years ago, when I decided to quit smoking and make healthier choices for myself and my family, I didn't have to go far to find a natural surface trail to exercise. I started hiking, biking along Clopper Lake, Black Hill, and Little Bennett. In pursuit to become healthier, I developed a passion for the outdoors and found a community like no other that is both concerned about the environment, but also concerned about making trails accessible to everyone. Since then, I have volunteered with groups like MORE, Friends of Seneca Creek, among others, to help build, maintain, and advertise to everyone how amazing park system we have in our county. The county has been growing, and we should be increasing the amount we spend in outdoor spaces, healthier activities for our communities, and our parks offer exactly that. The park we currently operate needs money for operation and maintenance, but we also need to look into acquiring more land to protect and make it usable for residents. We also need to expand our current trail network and encourage those who commute by bike or other traditional non-ways of transportation. My kids have enjoyed the playgrounds, and as they grew, soccer blocks and Germantown Bike Park became places they love to enjoy. So please consider funding the Parks Department request. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Amy Ginsberg.
Good afternoon. My name is Amy Ginsberg, and I'm the Executive Director of Friends of White Flint, a nonprofit organization whose only mission is the transformation of the Pike District into a vibrant, transit-oriented community. The 2,000 supporters of Friends of White Flint, including property owners, Residents, businesses, employees, and customers want the promise of the White Flint Pike District to be fulfilled. That promise includes much-needed economic development and a stellar quality of life for residents, a promise that starts with the funding of essential CIP projects. One of the underlying tenets of the White Flint Sector Plan is transit-oriented development. Needless to say, it is difficult to have transit-oriented development without transit, which is why we are extremely disappointed funding was eliminated in the CIP for a northern entrance for the White Flint Metro Station. A northern metro entrance significantly expands the metro walkshed, and it is critical to encouraging development in the Pike District. With that second entrance, the offices on Executive Boulevard, retail on Rockville Pike, and some large multifamily apartments become part of the metro station walkshed. This entrance is instrumental to fulfilling the wonderful vision of a sustainable, transit-oriented, walkable community and will spur much-needed economic development. Friends of White Flint strongly urges you to fund the second metro entrance in this year's CIP budget. Additionally, while walking and biking in the White Flint area continues to grow, many more want to walk and bike to work, stores, and homes, but are stymied by dangerous intersections and infrastructure. Much more needs to be done to make the White Flint area as walkable as possible, as quickly as possible. It is imperative that we make walking and biking along Route 355, Old Georgetown Road, and the Pike District side streets safe and accessible. Through the CIP, the county sets its long-term priorities. Show that your priorities are multimodal transit and Vision Zero. Demonstrate that your priorities are transit-oriented development that encourages economic development. Demonstrate your support for the transformation of the White Flint area through the CIP by fully funding a second metro entrance and essential pedestrian and bicycle improvements. Thank you.
Thank you. Annie Tolkien.
Good afternoon, council members. I'm Annie Tolkien. I am a four-year resident of Long Branch. And since you have my testimony, I'll keep it short. I wanted to lend a personal perspective today and start by saying that we bought our house in Long Branch in 2016 in anticipation of the Purple Line. And as many of you know, our home is almost on top of what is known as the Plymouth Tunnel, which is about 100 yards from the site of the future elevator that will go down to the Manchester Place stop. You're welcome to come by and check it out if you'd like. I'm extremely happy to see bike and pedestrian priority area improvements for the Purple Line in the county exec's proposed budget to include sidewalk improvements in my area. We all know that the first mile and the last mile are the biggest challenges for people in accessing public transit, and with the climate crisis, the county should be prioritizing installing and updating sidewalks in areas at least 1 mile out from every Purple Line stop. But like many people here today, I came to talk about the parks. The second reason we chose to move to Montgomery County was for its fantastic parks and trails. We have a 4-year-old daughter, and we opt to spend most of our family time together using the parks and trails. If you follow my Twitter, you'll see a lot of pictures to that effect. And we estimate that we visited approximately 70 of the 400 Montgomery County parks. Many of those parks we've visited multiple times. We have a playground connoisseur on our hands. We have hiked, biked, and jogged or walked on approximately 13 of those trails across the county. And we feel that the parks are a dynamic public benefit for everyone to access. They are spaces for not only recreation, but education as well. We understand that maintaining the parks and playgrounds and trails takes funding, and we have learned that the proposed budget has cut a significant amount from what the Parks Department requested and identified as minimally adequate to support the parks. So I'm here today, like so many others, to raise my voice and ask that the parks be funded in order to ensure that we can expand the trail network, achieve Vision Zero, giving people the opportunity to get out of their cars and use the trails in a safe, accessible manner, while also creating spaces for families to enjoy nature. Thank you for your time and consideration.
And thank you. There are no questions, so that concludes this panel. The next panel is Lloyd Gurchie, Austin, from Citizens Coordinating Committee on Friendship Heights, Austin Steo, Trail Conservancy, Inc., Tom Newton, an individual, Ernest Rodriguez, Mid-Atlantic Off-Road Enthusiast, Naomi Manders, Potomac Bridle and Hiking Trails Association, and Deborah Churton, an individual. And if Lloyd Gertschy could please begin.
Good afternoon. I'm Lloyd Gersey, Vice Chair of the Citizens Coordinating Committee on Friendship Heights. I'm testifying on behalf of our 18-member communities, which include 20,000 residents on the CIP. My concern is parks. The Coordinating Committee has long been concerned with the county authorizing very intense development, but not providing sufficient amenities, including particularly parks. This exists across the county, but it's particularly intense down county, where a lot of infill is being pushed. The Fed committee knows it, but the other half of the deal, the parks, aren't coming. One major concern is that there is parks land. Parks actually owns the land, and it isn't being used for a park. Members of the council in an analogous situation with MCPS have said, hey, MCPS, you own land, why aren't you using it for schools? We have that very situation, and we've had it for 25 years in Friendship Heights. Parks got this parcel 1 acre in size 25 years ago, yet they have not converted it to parks use. The purchase was made in recognition of the density of development in Friendship Heights, which in some respects is greater than some areas of Manhattan. So it could serve thousands of residents. There's about 4,500 people in Friendship Heights. This land's very accessible to residents. Many are very old, and they can't go very far, and this land is absolutely perfect for them to walk to. But 25 years has passed, and Parks hasn't found a way to clear one house and off of the property. What do they have? They have a cyclone fence to keep people from getting in, instead of park use. We've talked to Parks time and time again. There are some buckets of money, and that could be used, but our project never gets on the list that the Parks Department is actually going to fund. So here we are after 25 years saying enough already. Enough is enough. We want this 1 acre parcel, which is perfect, to be used for park use. We ask you to find a way in the CIP budget to assure that the land purchased is used for parks use. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Austin Steyo.
Hello.
It's on.
My name is Austin Steele. I'm Executive Director of Trail Conservancy, which is a nonprofit trail organization that supports trail land managers to help develop, maintain, and natural surface trails. And we've raised significant grant money to help trails in Montgomery County, and I continue to work as a volunteer myself. I've been working on trails for 20 years in Montgomery County, and I started advocating for trails and maintenance and new trail almost 20 years ago. As a matter of public record, you go to the park and planning, and you'll see that I've been asking for some sort of help with trails. And not really much happened for a certain amount of time, even though around 2004 there was a park-generated survey that actually showed that trails were the top of the list, even back then in 2004. But then there was, around 2010, there was the Vision 2030, which had another survey, which also put trails at the top of the list. And fortunately, through your efforts to support the park budget, we actually now have a trail crew, we have trail funding, and actually moving forward on some trails. So that's all fine and well. And in fact, the trails I can report are high quality, good trail, fun trails. And I hope my kids will like these trails someday. So if the past is going to inform the future, what has happened? There's a little bit of a gap, because if you think about it, all these other facilities may have received the funding they needed, but trails didn't for many years. So all of a sudden now we're starting to move forward, but we actually don't have, we're not meeting the service gap from the needs. Obviously more people are moving to the county, more people needing trails. So now we have this service gap. And if you think about it, over the years, the funding has been going to the trails like this when the needs were this high. So now we need to somehow figure out how we can meet that gap, because all the other facilities were receiving the funding they needed, but now the trails need to catch up. So I'm asking the council to consider actually raising the funding for trails to sort of meet that service gap for the priority that your constituents wanted in all the surveys they've reported. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Tom Newton.
Thank you. I'm Tom Newton. I live in Gaithersburg. I was born and raised in Montgomery County, and I have lived here over 40 years of my life. Through recreation and organized sports, I had the opportunity as a kid to spend a lot of time in parks across the county. Now I'm a coach for the local youth mountain bike team, same team, part of the National Interscholastic Cycling Association. I ride some of the same trails now with my daughter and other student athletes. I've volunteered with Montgomery Parks for over 10 years, and I've always been so impressed by, and I appreciate all the great work the parks staff do every day with the support of the planning board, the council, and volunteers. Parks are a precious natural resource which bring people together. Parks, recreation facilities, and trails enhance public health, youth development, social connections with family and friends, and community engagement with the environment. Riding the trails at Black Hill Regional Park with my daughter, I know she will grow up remembering these moments together. I am grateful for the parks and trails we have, and I enjoy those moments with my daughter and the other coaches and student athletes. Parks, facilities, and trails require capital investments, but these investments have huge payoffs. The closer a park or a trail is to your house, the more likely you will use it on a daily basis. As the county population grows, so does the need for more local parks, playgrounds, sports courts, and trails. Vision Zero is a very important safety initiative, and this also requires investment. Every path or trail that crosses a major road represents a safety issue for pedestrians and cyclists. Investments in signage or signals at road crossings can make a significant difference in the safety of those intersections. The most important planning decision regarding pedestrian and bicycle infrastructure in the county is the long-planned Capitol Crescent Trail Tunnel under Wisconsin Avenue in Bethesda. This is a critical piece of the connection between the Capitol Crescent, Georgetown Branch, and Rock Creek trails. Without this tunnel, pedestrian and bicycle traffic will be less safe, and the potential of this corridor to be a key part of the local transportation infrastructure, including pedestrian and bicycle activity, will be severely compromised. The cost of building that tunnel alongside the Purple Line, while perhaps a larger investment than what was originally planned, would surely be much higher later. And once the Purple Line is operational, it would be much more difficult to then add a parallel tunnel later. The Capitol Crescent Tunnel is a critical part of the infrastructure needed for Vision Zero. It would be much safer and more viable for pedestrian and bicycle traffic than the proposed Wisconsin Avenue crossing, especially with the increased vehicle and pedestrian traffic from the Purple Line and the future development around the station. As a longtime resident, a property owner, a volunteer, and a father, I hereby voice my strong opposition to this proposed budget, and I request full funding of the Parks CIP budget and the Capitol Crescent Tunnel under Wisconsin Avenue. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next is Ernest Rodriguez.
Good afternoon. My name is Ernest Rodriguez, and I'm speaking on behalf of MORE, Mid-Atlantic Off-Road Enthusiast. MORE is a 1,500-member nonprofit organization in the Washington, D.C. area, including D.C., Maryland, and Virginia. Our motto is riding bikes and building trails since 1992. Research shows us that we have an active mountain biking community of about 15,000 mountain bikers in the Washington metropolitan area. However, I'm not here to advocate for mountain biking specific trails. I'm here today to request you fund multi-use trails for all residents in Montgomery County. More members contributed over 16,000 hours of volunteer labor in support of building trails and maintaining sustainable, natural surface, multi-use trails in the Washington metropolitan area in 2019 alone. You know what's interesting about this number, in addition to its sheer number, is the number of unique volunteers that it represents. 1,328 took time away from their families, from daily life, to come out and volunteer for trails in their neighborhoods. Moore considers Montgomery County one of the premier places to live and work, as you've heard from other people here. Trails provide outdoor recreation amenities for residents of Montgomery County in the form of places to hike, run, walk their dogs, ride bikes, and in some cases ride a horse. Sustainable natural surface multi-use trails create an inclusive and welcoming community where we can appreciate and enjoy outdoor recreation or solitude. I'd like to expound on this. Sustainable is not only has to do with our organization's efforts to attract and recruit young riders to carry on our vision and mission to get more people on bikes enjoying outdoor recreation, but it is directly related to reducing or eliminating erosion and sedimentation from entering our water resources. We build sustainable trails to world-class standards developed by the International Mountain Biking Association. What is a natural surface trail, you may ask? Simply, it's dirt or rock if it's available and present. We don't advocate for impermeable or paved paths through the woods. We prefer sustainable natural surface trails. And finally, multi-use trails that we love because it gets us to the social fabric of our community and enables us to unite volunteers to build and maintain our shared infrastructure. We see multi-use trails as an opportunity to build community and support of our shared trails for all to enjoy outdoor recreation. Thank you.
Thank you. Naomi Manders.
Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity to comment on the upcoming CIP budget. My name is Naomi Manders. I'm an equestrian and hiker in Montgomery County for 60 years. My background includes past and present seats on the boards of EPIC, Equestrian Partners in Conservation, Potomac Bridle and Hiking Trails Association, and Trot Trail Riders of Today. Also, I was employed by the Parks Department for 12 years as trail planner and volunteer coordinator for natural surface trails. We should all be proud of the vast network of dedicated natural surface trails throughout the county, as such is not found in the rest of our nation. In the 80s, Parks did a survey of park users in Montgomery County. The survey asked, what was the most desirable facility offered by our county parks department? The answer was natural surface trails. And what was the most desired experience while using the trail? Answer, viewing nature and wildlife. Along with the benefits of recreation, exercise, and conservation, I'd add education as the most important benefit of using natural surface trails. I've learned that it is only by experiencing the natural environment that we learn to preserve and care for it. This is most important now because of the rapid urban growth occurring in this county. You must get on a natural surface trail to experience the beauty and peace of our natural environment if you want the residents of this county to support land and open space programs. This leads me directly into the budget under review today. I'm opposed to the county executive cuts to the CIP budget, which will affect the parks budget, which supports our trail system. These trails need maintenance and infrastructure investments, such as land acquisition to achieve trail connections, bridges, and trailheads. Maintenance is continual. Safety is an issue, too. For example, as observed from my parked car on a Sunday afternoon on a small country road, equestrians, bikers, and hikers were forced out onto the roadway because two bridges over ditches on the trail have not yet been installed. Passing cars were unaware of these trail users being in the roadway. Trail users and traffic don't mix. So in closing, as representative of many trail users, someone who has the experience to advise, I'm opposing the proposed county executive cuts and supporting the county trail system because of the enormous benefits to the residents of this county, and also because trail use encourages county residents to support the programs which protect and preserve our environment for the future. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Deborah Turton.
I'm Deborah Turton, and I'm here to testify against the cuts to the Wisconsin Tunnel and against the cuts to the park program trails. First, the Wisconsin Tunnel. The crossing of the Matthew Henson Trail at the Veers Mill was very dangerous. It took 2 deaths to convince people to spend a relatively small amount of money to improve the crossing. I'm hoping it won't take a proportional number of deaths to convince the council to spend the larger amount of money to fund the tunnel. Spending the money up front will give everyone a better tunnel at a lower cost in money and lives. As for the park program cuts, many people will talk about the benefits of the trail in general and with numbers in particular. I want to introduce you to people who use the trails every day to move about our county safely and efficiently, because that's what this is all about, moving people and not just cars. The money will be used by all types of Montgomery County residents. There's Norman, a regular guy who used to bike commute partially on trails before he retired. He's also used the trails to head to the local library and the grocery store, and the trails make it safe and easy for him to do that. Alan from Aspen Hill hops on his bike and uses the many trails in the area to visit friends or go to lunch. With easy access to the Rock Creek Trail in Aspen Hill, he finds it easy to get around without using his car all the time. Barbara bikes to Bethesda for breakfast bagels is what Barbara's grandchildren say when she rides along the Capitol Crescent Trail to get fresh bagels for breakfast. She's one person who doesn't clog our roads with the car while doing the bagel run. Richard, a former government employee, biked to work. At various times, he used the Rock Creek, Capitol Crescent, Georgetown Branch, and MacArthur Boulevard trails. He was just a regular government employee getting to work the safest, most efficient way he could, with a little fun thrown in. Robin has a great commute. She bikes to the metro, takes it to Silver Spring, and then after work ends her day with a nice ride home via the trails, Sligo Creek, Matthew Henson, and some small trails through the parks. She's one fewer person in a car at rush hour. I've biked to work, networking events, the library, the grocery store, the gym, to meet friends, and lunch rides. I've used the major trails, Matthew Henson, Rock Creek, Bethesda Trolley Trail, and the CCT in the area, as well as many of the small trails through the parks, such as White Flint, Waverly, and Greenwood Park. These small trails might be overlooked by people who don't use their bikes for transportation, but they allow many of us to easily move through neighborhoods while avoiding car traffic. Les, who has been known to bike a 50-mile round-trip commute, uses the Rock Creek Trail, the Bethesda Trolley Trail, and the Capitol Crescent Trail. He's just one more government contractor getting to work more easily and safely on the trails. It's much less stressful for him to take a bike than to drive on the highways in the area. As Brenda, a trail commuter and sales manager, says, if there's one dangerous part of your trip, it can stop you from traveling by bike. That's why she uses trails to avoid roads with too many cars. Funding the parks is key to increasing bike transportation in the area. The county is starting a neighborhood greenway to run along 97 from Aspen Hill to Glenmont Metro. One key component of the greenway is, you guessed it, a small trail through a neighborhood park, Harmony Hills. The funding for the parks will help people like Les, Brenda, Robin, Alan, Norman, and Barbara pick up bagels, check out library books, grab a gallon of milk, and get to work safely and efficiently. The park funding will also help the county reach its Vision Zero goals, as well as limit carbon emissions from Montgomery County.
Thank you. And there are no questions, so this concludes this panel. Next panel is Gail Lee from Poolesville Area Chamber of Commerce, Eugene Ebner from the Civic Association of River Falls, Karen Kinser, Countywide Recreation and Parks Advisory Board, Thomas Coogan, individual, Laura Mitchell from Wheaton High School Cluster, and Paulette Dickerson, an individual. And if Gail Lee could please begin.
Hello, I'm Gail Lee, President of the Poolesville Area Chamber of Commerce. I've been a business owner and resident of Poolesville for more than 40 years. I am currently completing my last term as president of PACC after 9 years on the board of directors, with the last being as president. Thank you all for having me today. First, I would like to thank all the council members for your support with respect to bringing a new Poolesville High School into the CIP budget, along with a study to support both community and wellness centers that our area so desperately needs and deserves. This is all a part of the Fair Access Committee for Western Montgomery County Initiative. We've had a lot of leaders who have stepped up to support our area with respect to the CIP budget. A special thank you to Andrew Friedson, who personally wrote letters to both County Executive Mark Elrich and Superintendent of Montgomery County Schools, Dr. Smith. Thank you to Craig Rice, Education Chair, who has also been very supportive, and to Mark Elrich, our County Executive, who from the beginning has also shown real leadership and support for our area in western Montgomery County. With Montgomery County ranking #1 in the state of Maryland on almost every level, we certainly can demonstrate through a recent Montgomery County zip code health outcome study there are pockets of problem areas, to include Poolsville. Zip code 20837, that's only Poolsville, not the surrounding areas in the Ag Reserve, ranked 36 out of 36 zip codes in Montgomery County with respect to health care issues. A healthy community is a thriving community. We are a chamber with mostly home-based businesses. A community center would provide a place for local businesses to schedule events, teach classes, and truly help support our entire community, to include our business community. We are the only areas of Montgomery County without these facilities. Our area, to include our students, our seniors, and community members, have been left behind for too long. We appreciate your continued support as we move forward with the funding to build an entirely new Poolsville High School and to bring the facilities and services into our area of western Montgomery County that have been overlooked for too many years. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Eugene Ebner.
My name is Eugene Ebner, and I am president of the Civic Association of River Falls. Thank you for the opportunity to address the Montgomery County Council on the impact of last summer's storm, the subsequent flooding in the River Falls community, and the steps needed to ensure that those impacts are mitigated and funded. On July 8, 2019, the River Falls community experienced a major flood event from an extreme storm followed by another storm of shorter duration on August 6, which resulted in additional flooding, though not as severe as the first storm. During the initial flood, a portion of the River Falls neighborhood incurred significant street flooding of several feet of water, making those roads impassable and resulting in the partial submergence of parked cars, some of which floated away. There was also major property damage to a number of homes on those streets, including the loss of personal property and the extensive flooding of basements. Homes and streets in the neighborhood impacted by these floods include, but are not limited to, portions of River Falls Drive, Coach Street, and Horseshoe Lane, located between Hackamore Drive and Brickyard Road, as well as portions of Hackamore Drive, Stable Lane, and Little MacArthur Boulevard. Flooding on Horseshoe Lane also resulted in the submerging of the River Falls Community Center Association's swimming pool, tennis courts, and portions of the clubhouse. These facilities are available for use not only by association members, but also by other Montgomery County communities for swim meets and related events. As a result of the flooding, the swimming pool and clubhouse incurred significant damage. Since the occurrence of the first storm on July 8, it is our understanding that the Montgomery County Department of Transportation, Division of Highway Services inspected and took steps to clear drains in our neighborhood. We should note, however, that even after the county cleared the drains of debris, that action alone was not sufficient because the neighborhood still experienced subsequent flooding issues, as evidenced by the smaller August 6 storm previously mentioned. In addition, we were informed by the DOT Division of Transportation Engineering conducted an initial on-site survey of our community's drainage system infrastructure thereafter and decided to undertake a further comprehensive hydrologic and hydraulic study and analysis of our neighborhood's draining issues. We urge that this study be completed expeditiously and be made public as soon as possible. We know that there are many competing demands for resources in the county budget. However, given the flooding impacts described above and the DOT's analysis and findings regarding ongoing drainage issues in our neighborhood, we strongly urge that the county budget include the additional funding required for the continued assessment and implementation of essential drainage system improvement and flood mitigation projects for River Falls in the CIP and future budgets. Specifically, we request that these resources be allocated on a priority basis for River Falls towards the identification in the CIP of specific immediate, near, and long-term follow-on infrastructure and related projects to solve the problems identified in the DOT drainage analysis, and that a timetable be established specifying when those projects will be implemented and completed. The county's efforts on behalf of our community are necessary and greatly appreciated. We look forward to hearing back from you as soon as possible as to how and when these issues will be addressed and resolved. Thank you.
Thank you. Karen Kinser.
Good afternoon. My name is Karen Kinser. I am the chair of the Countywide Recreation and Parks Advisory Board. You know, we're a group of citizens, we're appointed by you to make sure the citizen perspective on recreation and parks comes back to our government leaders, so here I am. In reviewing this year's CIP budget, we were very pleased that funds have been allocated for refurbishment of some of our community centers. Modernizing the aging infrastructure at some of those centers, at Long Branch, at Caulfield, at Bauer Drive, at the Schweinert Senior Center, those centers are serving important populations that are often underserved in this county, and so we really are pleased to see that. We're also pleased that there's funding to address some of the infrastructure and safety issues at some of our aquatic centers. All of these facilities, the attendance rates keep climbing and climbing, and so we hope you will also support allocating funding for their maintenance and refurbishment and improvements. We would also like to comment on the funding in the CIP for the new high school in Poolsville. Our board has met with citizens from Poolsville to talk about their desire for better access to recreation programs and services, and it is our understanding one of the impediments to that is lack of space. We really support finding ways to offer more recreation and programming in the Poolsville area. The area is unique, creative solutions have to be found, so be it co-located space with the new school, other creative ideas. We hope that the council will support the funding of any projects that could help meet the recreational needs of citizens in the Poolsville area. Our park system, as a lot of people have been talking about, also provides citizens with recreation and fitness gathering opportunities. We're concerned about cuts in the CIP that will lead to fewer improvements in our athletic fields, delays up at Little Bennett for the projects up there, reducing the ability to replace aging infrastructure, ADA mandates and Clean Water Act. A lot of that stuff is going to be harder to meet those demands with the cuts to the CIP for parks. So we would really like to see some of that instated. The Purple Line has a huge impact on our trail system. Capitol Crescent is used by walkers, runners, bikers, everybody. People come from all over. There were promises made about that tunnel that would provide a safe passageway. We would love to see funding for that reinstated. We know a lot of people are asking, small pie, but we really think that funding recreation and parks and a lot of these projects is really important to people of all ages in our county, all incomes, and so we really hope to see your support in funding them. Thank you.
Thank you. Thomas Coogan.
Thank you for the opportunity to testify this afternoon in support of increasing the county's budget to fund desperately needed DOT storm runoff drainage improvement projects to reduce the ever worsening damage caused by stormwater runoff that the gentleman mentioned, speaker before. My name is Tom Coogan, and I am a resident of the Laurel Hill neighborhood of Bethesda, which is near Bradley Boulevard and Seven Locks Road. We and our neighbors, many of whom are very long-time residents, have seen our property literally washed away as a result of uncontrolled runoff, largely a result of county roads that lack adequate stormwater control. For almost a decade, we've been working with DOT officials to address these concerns. DOT, along with DEP and Maryland state officials, have met with us and all acknowledge the severity of the problem. However, there has not been adequate funding to perform the necessary work. Fortunately, with the assistance of Councilmember Friedson and his assistant, Aaron Kraut, we and our neighbors are cautiously optimistic that this year, finally, DOT may have adequate funding to correct this longstanding problem in our neighborhood. So I'm happy to say that I'm not here today just for my family and my neighbors, but for all the residents of the county who are suffering from damage to their homes and property due to inadequate funding of drainage control projects. This problem has been plaguing many of us for many, many years and has gone unresolved due to lack of funding. We and our neighbors deserve better, other residents deserve better, and DOT deserves more funding. Over the past decade, whether the result of increased building, infrastructure deterioration, or climate change, stormwater runoff has been destroying private and public property and polluting our waterways. Just on our property, for example, raging torrents of water from an unmaintained county drainage easement have swept away the foundations of a massive retaining wall next to our house, toppled enormous trees, undermined a large footbridge, and left our property flooded. Photographs to illustrate the damage are included in my written testimony. The damage caused by stormwater runoff is not limited to private property. Rushing water causes drains to get clogged, sidewalks and roads to be damaged, and eventually streams and rivers to be polluted, all of which not only harms our neighborhood, which is next to the Cabin John Creek, but everyone in the county who pays for that damage. We and our neighbors hope that the County Council will increase funding for drainage improvement in the capital budget that is before you, and that the county executive will support those increases in future budget recommendations. Thank you for your consideration of our request, for your time and attention, and for your service to our community.
Thank you. Laura Mitchell. Laura Mitchell. Next is Paulette Dickerson.
Hi, my name is Paulette Dickerson. I love libraries, and I am here to advocate for them. People don't come to love libraries and books out of nowhere. In my case, the Mark Twain branch of the LA Public Library was in our neighborhood, between Vermont Avenue Elementary School and Bret Harte Junior High. I could go to the library any day I wanted to. My young life was rich in resources, but many young people are not so lucky. The first time I heard of a possible library branch out Clarksburg Way was in 1991 or 92. Since then, 5 generations of elementary school kids in the Clarksburg area have grown up without the opportunities I had in Los Angeles of the mid-1950s. From the time my eldest was 2 till the youngest was 10, we were regulars at the tiny but wonderful Noyes Children's Library. Yet Noyes was never as wonderful a place for kids with physical impairments. There's now a ramp to the front door, but the branch still doesn't have a handicapped accessible restroom. Lastly, there is the Silver Spring Library in a beautiful building which opened to the public less than 5 years ago. It is used by thousands of people every month, but has been plagued by glitches in the physical plant from the beginning. The software that kept the main bank of elevators from going from the 5th floor to the 1st floor had to be disabled for a while because using it made the elevators less reliable. The door to the elevator mechanical room on the 5th floor needs to be propped open all the time to keep the elevator motors running smoothly. The escalators have common problems. It is for these reasons and more that the Silver Spring Library should be on the list for a refurbishment as soon as possible. Libraries are havens for learning, from before a baby's first words through homework help and tax prep assistance, crucial elements in today's quest for literacy. Constructing and maintaining the buildings that house libraries and the technology that runs them is crucial to that mission. When this is done, as Albert Einstein said, the only thing you absolutely have to know is the location of the library. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. There are no questions, so this panel is concluded. Next is Fania Yard-Garber from the Healthy School Food Maryland, Antoinette Negro, an individual, Tangela Cuddiscut, an individual, Jim Brown from the Fair Access Committee for the Western County, and Kathleen Van Alten, an individual. Fania Yarn-Garber.
Thank you for considering my testimony today. My name is Fania Yang-Garber. I'm a parent of 2 children in MCPS and the Executive Director of Healthy School Food Maryland, a local nonprofit organization dedicated to improving health outcomes for Montgomery County school children. Along with my own concerns as a parent and nutritionist, I'm also here to convey the concerns of the over 5,000 members of Healthy School Food Maryland who have identified increasing access to safe drinking water as a top priority. We ask that the Council fund installing water filling stations in all Montgomery County public schools as soon as possible. to address issues of inequity among schools and ensure that all Montgomery County school children have access to safe drinking water throughout the school day. MCPS Department of Facilities Management determined the cost of installing 2 water bottle filling stations in all schools at $1.2 million. Please include funding for this critical need in our schools. Research has found that more than half of school-age children don't get enough water. Nearly a quarter of kids don't drink any plain water at all. Water consumption is a key part of keeping healthy, staying hydrated, and managing a healthy weight. There are many health risks to dehydration, including fatigue and poor endurance, which can affect academic performance. While there isn't just one reason that kids don't drink water, the problem is made worse by water distrust. Thank you to the Council for passing Councilmember Hucker's bill that lowered the acceptable lead level in drinking water to 5 parts per billion. After a county-wide review of school water determined that elevated lead levels were present in water outlets at 86 schools. MCPS has been working to remediate some of those outlets while some outlets remain shut off. We support the installation of water bottle filling stations over the remediation of plumbing fixtures. Experts in childhood lead exposure believe that remediation is not a reliable method because water fixtures in schools have long periods with no use, which make it difficult for corrosion control to work as designed. Water bottle filtration and filling stations offer a sanitary and environmentally friendly solution to promoting good water drinking habits. In lieu of installing filling stations, MCPS purchases single-use water bottles, over 3.5 million bottles per academic year at a cost of almost $500,000. The environmental impact of this practice is staggering. As a local example, after University of Maryland installed its first 100 water bottle filling stations, it determined that they replaced nearly 3 million plastic water bottles. As of October, there were less than 40 filler stations in the 208 MCPS schools. All the schools need water bottle filling stations, not just new construction or schools with well-funded PTAs. This is an equity issue which is out of step with your racial equity and social justice policy.
Thank you very much, and we will read the rest of your testimony. Antoinette Negro, you had it on the first time. There it is.
Good morning. I'm here today to speak in support of the Noyes Library for Children. I am a retired librarian and have had extensive years of work in libraries in serving children, adolescents, and adults in public school and university settings in both New Jersey and in Montgomery County. I speak today because I believe it is a critical time for this unique and essential program that is part of one of the most outstanding library systems in the country. Built in 1893, the Noyes Library is the oldest public library in the Washington area and on the National Register of Historic Places. Founded by Crosby Noyes, editor-in-chief of the Washington Times, and Braydon Warner, benefactor of Kensington, it predates the Thomas Jefferson Building of the Library of Congress. As a library for infants, toddlers, and preschool children, it is one of only a handful of public libraries devoted exclusively to young children in the country, and certainly in Maryland. It is a treasured and unique centerpiece of library service where the youngest children are introduced to books. While all public libraries in the county provide services to preschool children, Noyes goes beyond traditional storytelling and play activities in promoting programs that encourages exploration. The county has announced an important initiative in early child care and education to get children ready for kindergarten. This is what the Noyes Library for Children does and has done throughout its existence. The library exemplifies the goals of the executive's initiative and should be a cornerstone and beacon of what the county seeks to achieve. It's a good example of how the public library amplifies the goal of improving literacy for children so they will be ready for their first school experience. More attention needs to be given to this library at a time when the county seeks to address learning deficiencies among children. The Noyes program specifically addressed the literacy skills needed in preparation for beginning school and kindergarten. It deserves countywide recognition for its success. The Noyes Library is also the home of the Jan Jablonski Early Literacy Center. This is a collection of materials for training in developing literacy in young children, namely reading, listening, and writing, needed to enter school ready to learn. These materials have been used to provide professional development for children's librarians, teachers, university students, and early childhood education. They are also loaned to parents as well. The Norris Library for Children deserves your attention for increased capital support and acceleration of the building project. If improving literacy for children is important to you, then look to this library as a good example of how the public library in this county serves its very young patrons.
Thank you very much. Next is Tangela Cuscote? No? Tangela Cuscote? Next is Jim Brown.
I'm glad we can make the name easy for you on that one.
Yeah, thank you.
It's
Thank
my
you, Jim.
pleasure.
I owe you one.
Thank you. That's fine. No problem. My name is Jim Brown, and I'm representing the Fair Access Committee for Western Montgomery County. Before I get into my testimony, I just wanted to say to everybody that's been talking about parks and green space, come on up to the Western County. We'd love to have you. Maybe have a dinner while you're up there. It's a great place to visit. We welcome bicyclists, everyone, tourists. Come say hi. I'm representing the Fair Access Committee today for Western Montgomery County. The committee was established by the town of Poolesville, but its goal is to ensure fair treatment by the county for all Western County residents in the Ag Reserve. That's an area that represents a third of the land area in the county, and we have over 15,000 residents up there, and 1/3 of the county is made up in our Ag Reserve. Through its work, the Fair Access Committee has demonstrated that despite promises made when the Ag Reserve was established, for many years the county pretty much ignored the need for investments in our area, in a new high school, in all kinds of facility, and the kinds of facilities and services that are available to most other residents in the county, resulting in what we call, and what I know you know as, a services desert. Many have suffered in the Western County, including an isolated and aging senior population, and the lack of nearby access to health care for our residents has contributed to worst in the county health outcomes. Worst in the county health outcomes. You have the opportunity to make this better. As you're also well aware, our students are shortchanged too. The high school's core is nearly 70 years old, and it is the only high school ranked red in the recent KFI school facility assessment. Western County residents are resilient and community-oriented and have tried to compensate by providing volunteer rides to doctors, helping establish a seniors committee, also thanks to your funding, and to provide services other areas already have. Even creating a town-funded summer recreation program in which I will be a dunk tank member this year. And we may call on you for that too. Be prepared. We value community initiative, but we can't do it alone. And we should not have to. The county has built community centers and senior centers throughout the county, and many places has established clinics and wellness centers. They are part of the service portfolio the county offers to its residents. It's well past time that Western County residents are treated on par with citizens elsewhere in the county. Keep in mind, a healthy Western County helps keep the whole county healthy. Thanks for recognizing that we are indeed different in the up-county area. The committee is grateful to the superintendent and county executive who included funding in the CIP for a new Poolesville High School and to study and recommend county facilities that would include a community senior center and clinic wellness center. We also want to thank specifically our council member Andrew Friedson, Craig Rice for his advice, Hans Reamer, Gabe Albernas, everyone that we have met with, and we thank you for your guidance.
Thank you very much. Next is Kathleen Van Alten.
I'm Kathleen Van Alten. I'm a cardiologist. I live in the Oldfield community, which is located across Tuckerman Lane and Herbert Hoover Junior High School.
Can you speak into your microphone, please?
I'm sorry, can you hear me now?
Yeah, no.
Okay, I've lived there since 1984, and my 3 sons attended Churchill, Hoover, and the Wayside Cluster, which now includes the Post-Oakham Elementary School. I'm here to beg and plead with you to financially support and complete the Tuckerman Lane pedestrian project. The Tuckerman Lane sidewalk is presently in Phase 2, up to 35% design, and there isn't any funding or schedule for final design and construction. Why am I pleading? There is no contiguous sidewalk down Tuckerman Lane. There is no safe sidewalk for children to walk to school. Tuckerman Lane is the main road connecting Churchill High School, Hoover Middle School, St. Andrews, which is where the president's son goes, Post Oak Elementary School, and allows further connection to McLean and Ivy Mound School. Because there is no contiguous sidewalk, children walk on the soft shoulder. Parents drive their kids to school. In addition, there's no dedicated, safe, clearly marked sidewalk street sign lights for students to cross the corner from the west side of Tuckerman to Post Oak Hoover School. So when they cross from Hoover, they end up on somebody's grassy front yard and then walk on the soft shoulder into their community. Finally, for residents who live in the Tuckerman corridor, there is no safe way to walk to the Cabin John Shopping Center where new townhouses are being built. Ride-on bus stops are frequently in grassy areas, often poorly lit. Passengers get off the bus and walk down soft shoulders of Tuckerman into communities with limited, often no sidewalks. There is limited visibility of these ride-on commuters. Lack of pedestrian walkway limits one's option to live in place. It limits one's ability to walk. Exercise is the chief prescription for preventing illness, and walking improves quality of life. Limited pedestrian walkways negatively affect the value of homes. People want to walk and not drive. In summary, I'm begging, pleading, and imploring that you finance and complete the Tuckerman Lane pedestrian sidewalk project. Thank you.
Thank you. There's no questions of this panel, so it concludes the panel. This actually concludes this public hearing, though we will be back this evening at 7 o'clock for another public hearing on the same topic. Thank you for being with us. We are adjourned.